Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? Xiao Lianzi and Jinxi had already been waiting at the bend near the ferry landing. Seeing Xianqing standing at the landing and coming back with me, they were momentarily stunned. Eventually, it was Jinxi who reacted quickly, silently offering a bow before helping me walk towards Tongli Palace. I whispered, "Just now you two didn't see anyone besides me." Jinxi replied softly, "Yes. This servant only came to pick up the young master from Lady Feng Shui's place." Xiao Lianzi followed closely behind, and we all entered Tongli Palace together. Everyone had been sent to the drinking green pavilion by Xiao Yunzi, and I quietly returned to the inner hall. After changing into my night clothes, I felt an unbearable thirst. Just as I was about to speak, Xiao Yunzi had already poured a cup of tea for me. I took a sip and then pushed it away, thinking for a moment before saying, "Get something else." Xiao Yunzi replied with a smile, "The small kitchen has prepared bird's nest. Would the young master like some?" I nodded. "Have Huan Bai bring it in." Xiao Yunzi hesitated for a moment, but ultimately didn't dare to ask further and instructed Huan Bai to bring the bird's nest. When Huan Bai brought in the bird's nest, seeing me sitting there properly, her expression changed slightly. With a concerned tone she said, "Miss, was your trip smooth? Coming back so late made this servant quite worried." I felt annoyed and glared at her for a moment. Huan Bai slightly lowered her head as if she was guilty and dared not look at me. I laughed lightly and said, "Not only was it smooth, it was incredibly satisfying." Huan Bai looked up in slight astonishment and asked, "Did the emperor release Miss Mei Zhuang?" "Not at all." My gaze swept across her face as I said word by word. The emperor reprimanded Consort Hua and even forbade her from seeing the imperial concubine Wen Yi. Initially, the emperor was going to restore her authority to manage the 6 palaces, but now, she might not even be able to protect herself. The emperor reprimanded Consort Hua? I casually said, "Yes. It's her own fault for angering the emperor. Consort Hua is perhaps too arrogant. Don't you think so, Huan Bai?" Huan Bai was momentarily embarrassed and forced a smile. This servant doesn't know whether Consort Hua is arrogant or not, but the emperor's decree must be right. I slightly turned my head and Jinxi, Xiao Yunzi and Xiao Lianzi all left the room. Only Huan Bai and I remained. Her voice was as gentle as ever. "Mississippi." She stood by with her hands down. I stared at her coldly and Huan Bai involuntarily moved slightly, asking, "Why does Miss look at this servant like this?" Suddenly, I withdrew my gaze and smiled broadly. "I asked them to leave for your sake as well. Huan Bai, you've been working hard and enduring hardship these days. It's really tough on you." Huan Bai stared at the ground and said softly, "Why does Miss say that? This servant cannot bear such praise." I stood up and slowly circled around her twice, then suddenly stopped in front of her, extending my hand to gently caress her cheek and sighed. "If you look closely, you and I do bear some resemblance." I paused and then continued, "However, some people and some things have a facade that doesn't match their heart. Even those who have grown up together from a young age can turn out to be unrecognizable in heart, which truly disheartens me." Huan Bai's expression turned stern, and she forced a smile, saying, "Miss, I don't understand what you mean by this." Her voice suddenly became cold. "It's great, isn't it? Having someone who betrays from the inside. I've already experienced this by my side, and I didn't expect it to be you this time." I had always treated her with close affection and harmony, and I had never spoken to Huan Bai in such a harsh tone before. Startled, Huan Bai quickly knelt down and exclaimed, "Mississippi." I paid her no heed and continued. "Back then, at the Shuelu Nanshuan Palace, Imperial concubine Chao Jie tried to use the emperor's name and the 6th prince's name to meet and provoke me. At that time, I suspected that it was someone close to me who had leaked the information. I just hadn't thought it was you. Lu Zhu, who went with me that day, knew the most about the whole story. Her temperament is not as calm as yours. Sometimes she's straightforward, so I thought it might have been her who let something slip while joking with the palace maids. But today, right after I left Tongli Palace, someone went to tip off. I can't believe that Consort Hua would know I was going to Kunjitang without reason, which shows that it was someone by my side who deliberately leaked the information." Huan Bai's expression gradually calmed down, and she looked up at me saying, Not only I knew that the young master was going to visit Miss Mei Zhuang. Miss, how can you be sure it was Huan Bai? Or did Miss already have a prejudice against Huan Bai? I smiled slightly. You did indeed take great care to cover your tracks. Unfortunately, you overlooked one thing. What is it? Do you remember that a while ago, the emperor gifted me a box of honey blend incense from Nanzhao, which is almost odorless but leaves a lasting fragrance on clothes, unlike ordinary incense. It's very precious. The emperor received only this one box and gifted it all to me. I then gave it all to imperial concubine Chao Jia, and saw her place it in her inner chamber with my own eyes. I glanced at Huan Bai's face, which was gradually turning pale, and used the shiny side of my nail guard to gently wipe away the fine beads of sweat on her forehead. I remember I instructed you to stay in the inner hall, and not go out before I left. I paused for a moment and then slowly said, if, as you say, you had no ill intentions towards me, how could you have entered her inner chamber, and why would the scent of the honey blend incense be on you? Huan Bai looked at me with her mouth agape, weakly saying, I didn't. I deliberately had Lu Zhu guard the outer hall, knowing you would go out through the side door of the rear hall. Didn't you find it suspicious that I asked you to stay alone in the hall? I said. If you still refuse to admit it, you might as well smell yourself to see if there's a scent of honey blend incense on you. Huan Bai's face showed a look of panic, and hesitantly, she lifted her sleeve and sniffed it carefully, her complexion gradually turning ashen. I said with a smile, once this fragrance is on you, it doesn't fade for days and its scent is subtle, not easily noticed. After that, I stopped smiling and said coldly, won't you tell the truth now? Upon hearing this, Huan Bai's face instantly lost all color, and she exclaimed, enough, enough. Who asked me to fall for your scheme? I replied, it was just a suspicion. You Lu Zhu and Jinxi know the most about things around me. Although Jinxi has only been by my side for a year, and Lu Zhu can sometimes be impulsive, they are both fiercely loyal to me. Only you and I have had some reservations, but I couldn't be sure it was you, so I had to test it. I smiled gently. Who knew you couldn't keep your composure, wasting all the years I've spent training you? Huan Bai remained silent, only offering a bitter smile. Indeed, it's my bad luck. You can do whatever you want with me. However, I still have to thank you. If it wasn't for you tipping off, how could I have easily brought down Consort Hua today? Without her, I can finally have some peace for a while. Huan Bai's voice was almost incredulous, trembling as she said, you? I smiled. It's certainly thanks to you. I'm afraid Consort Hua now detests you deeply, thinking that it was a conspiracy between us master and servant. I looked at her. You really are capable. Huan Bai stared at me blankly for a long while before saying, I'm no match for your cunning. I looked at her intently for a long time, my voice softened as I sighed. I've always praised your composure, but it seems you still fall short. Being too eager for success and acting in an ungracious manner, how can I trust you enough to marry you into a noble family as the principal wife, to manage those unruly concubines? Huan Bai was taken aback and stuttered. You want to marry me into a noble family as the principal wife? Then she shook her head. You just want me to serve by your side for life. Have you ever really planned for my well-being? And why use such words to mock me? I said, I've had plans for you for a long time, not to mention, Father has also made plans for you. Just because we don't speak of it, do you assume I haven't planned for you? Even if you can assist me, you are to be married off, to bear and raise children. Even Lu Zhu, if she wishes to marry in the future, I will surely find her a good match, let alone you. You might be underestimating me too much. She looked almost dazed, questioning. Really?
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.